Robert Elliott here. I am here with my friend Tessa Rosson. She is a TEDx organizer and public speaking coach. And today we're going to do a part two of what we talked about before, is getting on stages. Part two today is how to craft an engaging speech or presentation. And I've got Tessa fired up. I'm fired up that she's here. So let's dive right in, Tessa. What are the elements? How does someone create an engaging speech and presentation so people will love them, buy from them, promote them, hire them, refer them?
All those things. That's what we want in all of our speeches, right?
Right
And
on.
I think the part that we're looking at is, what do the audience want, right? And I think that, to me, is the core of writing a good speech. It's
You're right.
not what do I want to tell the audience, but what are the audience here for? What do they want to hear? What do they want to learn? Why are they in the room or engaging with your content in the first place, right? And I think at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. I think of it as an audience-led framework. When you're building a speech, the audience comes first.
It is. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I find, when people like pitch or sell or speak or teach or anything, oftentimes I find, or even websites these days, people make it all about them. And it's a mistake because people don't care about us, unfortunately. They care about what's in it for them. So when we make all of it about us with all my work, and yes, have credibility, have legitimacy, have authority, but we make it all about, oh, your story is the biggest thing, and this and that, and all about me and how great I am and how great my course is and my thing is. To your point, it's what does the audience want? What do they need? What are they looking to get? Give it to them, in my opinion. And yeah, so which is the key. So how, I love it. How do we do that, my good friend?
So I think the most important part is going through a process. I think the biggest mistake people make when they have a speech or a presentation coming up is the first thing they do is open their slide deck. And my favorite activity to do with people is delete the slide deck. Slides are amazing. They are hugely powerful. They really can elevate a great speech or presentation, but they
True.
should come right at the end. Everything that you talk about needs to be considered first. So the most important thing to do when you're writing is think about, what do I want to say? Who's this audience? Why are they here? And what do I want to say to them? Right?
Mm,
The big talk, what do I want to talk about? That's so broad. And I think that's where people struggle. They open up the slide deck, they type the title of their talk, right? It's like, everything that I know about sales. Right? And you go, well, it's all there. You can Google that, and you're not going to get very many, helpful answers, because it's
true.
so broad.
There's so
Right?
much
What's
inside.
your specialist area? Right? What do you know? Why are you passionate about this? And what can you share with the audience? And try and be as specific as possible. I usually like to use an hourglass kind of visual to help people distill. It's like you start with all of this information, and then you distill down to one thing, right? If an audience is only going to remember one thing from your talk, let's think it's a TED talk, there's 10 to 15 minutes, or it's a presentation, it's 45 minutes, but it's kind of in someone's busy. They've got a lot going on. We've all got so much input coming in all the time. What is it that you want them to remember, right? If you're just telling them one thing, what's that going to be? And if they're only going to remember it, they're going to go home, tell their business partner, their spouse, their child, their dog. When they're going to share what they learned today, what's that
True.
one thing?
True. True.
And that's kind of where I help people kind of distill that down. And then after that, the process is that, okay, that's the main point. That's your through line. That's the thing that you need people to remember. How do you build it up in their minds? How do you make that point understandable to an audience that might not be super versed in that area? Maybe it's technical, maybe it's new information to them. They're learning about sales because they have a wonderful product, but they have no idea how to get it out there.
Fair, fair.
And so then we help people kind of build it back up again. So you've distilled it down, and now you build it back up into something that is engaging and fluent and keeps that through line. So you're not going off in tangents. You're not being like, oh, but I also have this interesting slide that I'm
True.
going to put in, and this interesting point. Everything needs to be in service to the point. And I think that a good through line is what's really critical to a great talk, because it keeps you clear and it keeps the audience clear on the end, what you're trying to get to, what you want them to learn.
I like that, and it's because sometimes you don't want people in the wrong room. If your room is full of people and they're coming to the wrong talk, or they want something different, then obviously you're going to think you did a bad job. Versus maybe just you attracted the wrong people because you're talking about something they're not interested in, or maybe they don't even know how the hard close. Maybe they need to how to actually engage and have influence and show maybe either show persuasion, show authority, show credibility. Maybe it's less to your point about, with the sales, the whole sales umbrella, less about closing, hard closing. Maybe it's like, well, when I get people, I can close them pretty well. It's just people don't even value my message. So do I teach and speak about how to have people hear or value your message? So I like that a lot. It's not what you want to talk about. It's what do they need? What do people need? And I love that point. And again, as my mentor said, make it all about them. Instead of making it about you, make it all about them, and you really can't go wrong.
Right. And I think an interesting part to really get across in that is the make it about them, make people care about what you're talking about. And I think there's traditionally, if you started in business any time before 2010, being personal was kind of beaten out of you. It's right, all about the business. To be professional, you have to stick to the business side, to what you know.
Straight
But
line, yeah,
actually,
exactly.
yeah, but
Professional.
we know as human beings, we connect on a human level, right? As much as we think we're rational beings, we all make decisions based on our feelings, on our emotions, how we
Correct.
react to things. And when you're writing a speech, you can't forget that. It can't just be dry cut. In fact, if you're somebody who's in a technical or scientific field and you have to present often and it has to be tech, you're often providing a huge amount of information at one time. You need to provide a way for the audience to engage with that material.
True.
And the way that you do that is being personal. And I think people often, they misinterpret being personal from making it about you. And I would say it's not making it about you, making it personal and adding in a storytelling element is about showing people why you care, because we're only going to care about it if you care about it, right? As someone who's sitting in the audience, if I get the impression that you're just delivering something by rote, I'm not going to be interested. So in when I'm helping people plan a speech, I always ask them, why is this important to you? Why do you care? And then secondly, why should this be important to the audience? Why should they care about it? And when you know those two things clearly, your talk is going to be a lot more personal, a lot easier to engage with, right? You drop in, whether it's storytelling, whether it's call back to reference that people are going to understand. They're going to feel like they're in your shoes, right? Let's say you're talking about entrepreneurship and you make reference to, gosh, when I started, I felt like such a fraud. I was so new. I didn't know what I was talking about. And I thought everyone was going to discover that, I had no idea what was going on. But actually what you're doing in that moment, you're laying a little bit of your soul, but you're also connecting with the audience, because as entrepreneurs, we've all felt like that. You have this wonderful vision, but it's harder than you thought it was ever going to be. It's tougher. You learned so much, but in that little sentence that felt like a throwaway, it's actually a moment of personal connection. And when the audience engages with you as a human being, that's where you start to resonate with them and you start to they start to hear the points that you're saying. And then you can start dropping in more of your like hardcore facts, right? Because the audience are engaged. They want to know more. They feel that they understand you and know you.
I love that you said that. So what I think I heard was just to really share your excitement and share your passion and share your personality. Because I agree. I've seen speakers that they may have spoke about something that I'm not super excited about, but they're passionate about it. I'm like, wow, this is great. I may not go, spend 10 hours researching what they were talking about afterwards, but I'm like, that was a great talk. That I was curious and engaging, excited because that person was engaging and passionate and excited about whatever, rocks or math or numbers or whatever it is. So I love that you said that, and I love also that it's like, be you, be authentic. And that's what people connect with versus me in the past, being on here in a suit. And it's like, no, most entrepreneurs, even some business people now, we're just rocking t-shirts and especially after COVID, jogging pants, right? So it's like, I love how you also said, just be real, be authentic, and show your best self, because that, as we all know, is what people are going to connect with and resonate with. It's us, it's me, it's you, it's them.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I have found, you may find this too, that a lot of people are trying to be as vanilla as possible so people won't hate on them, won't disapprove, won't say anything bad, won't dislike them, won't say your talk sucked or I don't like you, whatever. It's such a shame that people, at your point, the vulnerability is what helps us connect. And that's ironic, I feel. I love your thoughts. I feel so ironic that people are trying to be like everyone else, and I did this too when I was younger. I was bullied so badly. I was trying to be so vanilla that no one picked on me. It helped a bit, but not that much. But ironically, no one liked me either because I was so vanilla. And people like, what's this dude? He's not any unique or special. He's just bleh. So it's ironic that that is, to your point, one of the best ways to connect and have people engage with us, buy from us, like us, trust us, promote us, refer to us. And people are unfortunately doing a lot of vanillaizing themselves, or being just plain Jane, or boring, and especially when they're
Yeah.
talking about things that are a little more technical. Technical. Do me a favor. Talk to us about storytelling. I assume that might be another point here. Is metaphoring, storytelling? Hey, it's kind of like when you slip on a banana, or
Right.
storytelling to engage, especially with a lot of either complex things or technical things. Talk to us about storytelling and metaphors and examples, and does that help? How does that help? How much of a story? How many stories? How long of a
Yeah.
story?
Well, I think that the interesting thing about storytelling is that people misunderstand what it is, right? They go,
Fair,
"Oh, well, I'm not a storyteller." Again, it goes back to the idea of being personal and misunderstanding what that means.
fair.
Storytelling it's a device. It's a in in kind of cold hard terms, it's a way of leveraging your audience by connecting with them on a personal level. But in real terms, it just means using the gift of narrative
Mm,
to connect with people and to share. There's different ways that you can use storytelling to connect with the audience, right? It's like you have your personal stories to show your credibility and your authenticity, and like that point of trying to be too vanilla. Be yourself. Be okay standing on stage as you have the credibility, otherwise you wouldn't be there, right? So lean into
correct.
that.
Yeah.
You're there, so tell a story of how you got there. We all resonate with understanding where someone's come from. So you can tell personal stories, and they can be personal or professional anecdotes. If you're trying to get across a business idea, the audience that you know what you're talking about, not just by giving a list of your accomplishments and your resume, but here's something that I developed before. Here's my previous experience.
Mm,
Here's this time when I stepped up to leadership, and this is what happened, and this is where I struggled. And here's why this product is going to help you, or this change. You can use narrative to build credibility, loyalty, trust, but also to navigate change in your business. If you say, if your business is making a huge pivot, right? You have new products, or the way that the industry is changing and you're keeping up. If you just keep throwing out changes to your employees, or to your customers, it's hard to keep up. We don't know what's going on,
fair.
and we lose touch and we lose interest. But we lose some of that credibility and that loyalty. But when you explain with a narrative, you explain the change, why it's important, how it affects everybody, how it affects you, how it affects different parts of your industry or your company, and why you're making that decision. That's all storytelling, right? It's
Mm,
all a way that we explain what we're trying to achieve rather than just tell.
fair.
And so I think that's where storytelling is. It makes information more accessible and more engaging. It's like we could sit here and listen to somebody recite out of a textbook, and we're not going to remember any of it. Or someone could tell us a story that explains the main point, and boom, we're going to
Boom.
remember. You're going to remember 70% more from storytelling than you are from just facts. And so it makes everything more accessible and engaging. And if you don't use storytelling, you're the one that's actually missing out. And there are ways to bring in of different occasions call for different types of story, but essentially it's just another way to connect with whoever it is that you're talking to, customers, investors, um, colleagues. It's a way to bring in that human connection, which is at the heart of any good communication.
Fair. I like how you said that too, and it's to your point. Different environments, different audiences will call for maybe the same education, the same points, and different metaphors, different stories.
Right.
Like maybe you're talking for a group of younger people, or I don't know, Gen Zers or something, and it's like, well, it's kind of like slipping on a banana. Versus if you're talking as a baby boomers, maybe it's like, it's kind of like how you're getting old, your joints are creaky. I don't know, I'm making this stuff up, but I like how you said that your stories and your metaphors can be specific to that audience to make it more engaging to that audience. If I talked about, I don't know, I guess I'm a little young for talking about 8-track players, but maybe tapes. if I talked about that again, Gen Zers or people that are 15 years old, they're like, what is a tape? Versus, we used to be able to tape your movie and have to make sure you rewinded it, didn't copy over anything that you really liked when you're recording your favorite TV show on the VHS tape. I mean, people that are baby boomers would get that metaphor. So I love that you said that. I love that you said that. And in the last minute or so, any other tips or tricks or secrets you would say are key to crafting an engaging speech or presentation?
Yeah, so I think the kind of the main one I like to think of is your talk is a gift to your audience, right? Again, putting the audience first. What's the gift that you want to give them? And that might be harder to think of in a 40-minute business presentation than it is in a 10-minute TED talk. But let's say you've been given a 40-minute talk and you can say it in 20 minutes. That's your gift to the audience, right? I can get across everything I need to say. I can make myself clear, understandable. Everyone's going to walk away knowing what they need to do. That's my gift. I've done that. And if that only takes 20 minutes, wonderful. Tell your boss or whoever's organizing, you know what? I don't need 40. That's something really important for people to understand and think about when they're writing their speeches. How long do you actually need to communicate this idea? And if you can do it in less time, that's incredible. Do that and tell the organizer, we're okay. I'm an organizer. If someone says, hey, I can do my speech in 5, not 15, I'm thrilled.
True. I like that. As the great Albert Einstein said, if you can't explain something simply enough, you do not understand it well enough. And I think you're right. Instead of a long, drawn-out presentation or speech, which you lose people, versus have it, powerful, tight, concise, interesting, add stories. If you need to make a long, well, now, James, we need you to talk for an hour. Okay, I'll tell some more stories and examples versus adding too much more, blah, blah, blah. Or I'll do a Q&A. Right. Hey, who's this? Or who's that? Who's got a question? Or who's got this? Or what do you think of this? You can add to it, but to your point, yes, it's like it's keeping it powerful versus filling a time slot. How to make the most powerful. What I think I've heard from this, so the top keys to make and craft an engaging speech or presentation are write it for what people need. Be vulnerable, be open, tell stories and metaphors, make it easy to understand, and perhaps make it shorter than you think it needs to be, or at least make it only as long as it needs to be for them to understand it correctly versus feeling a time frame. And be you, be vulnerable, be open, be authentic so people will connect with you. And ditch the million PowerPoint slides. They can be good, have them concise, have them simple, have them effective without having literally death by PowerPoint or too much stuff on PowerPoint or relying and having PowerPoint as a crutch. Use it as a powerful anchor and a powerful tool. How'd I do?
That sounds absolutely perfect. That's how I describe it.
Beautiful. So how can people get a hold of you? How can people reach you, Tessa? If they want help with crafting a speech, getting into TED Talks, maybe being on your TED Talk, or just being a great speaker and presenter so that they win?
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn. That's where I hang out and I post. I post about speaking. I post about TEDx. I post about my life living on a sailboat as well, and finding the ways to communicate and tell stories about the lives that we lead. So you can find me there, Tessa Rosson, and I have a website where you can see my services, which is resonance-ideas.com. So that's my website.
Very cool. Thank you. So Tessa Rosson on LinkedIn or resonance-ideas.com. Amazing.
That's it. Yeah. Thank you so much, James, for having me today.
My pleasure. Thanks for being here again. This was a lot of fun, and I'm sure people get a lot from this as well. And we'll do a number 3 sometime too.
Sounds great. Have a great rest of your day.